Video by Emmanuel Isaiah Smith.
Hello. Good afternoon. It is your host, Emmanuel Isaiah Smith, and today's date is Monday, December 8th, 2025. The time is 1:33 p.m. and I am in Miami, Florida. The topic of today's lecture is Gangstalking Gameshow. And before I get into the main talking points of this lecture, I would like to address a number of matters. The first matter that I would like to address is that of various persons throughout this country who know exactly what gang stalking is, exactly how it's used, exactly how to read the signals and find the signals. They know exactly how to participate in its various obstacle courses, which are set out for targeted persons to trip upon, figuratively and literally. So I'm of the mindset that there are a few particular American establishments, across the spectrum of establishments, political, socio-political, economic, socio-economic, sociological, cultural, entertainment, news, you name it. There are a lot of different industries throughout this country that are finally ready to have a conversation on gang stalking. And I think that that's a good start. It's a good start. No one's jumping in head first, which is disappointing to me, I mean, this is the quintessential political problem of the 21st century. Who wouldn't want to jump into this matter head first? Are we not a country of innovation and creativity and being on the cutting edge of things? That's what I believe the United States has certainly billed itself as. That shining city on a hill, always on the cutting edge of things, always in the know. I mean, that's what makes gang stalking so ironic. It's because this is a country that has always prided itself in uncovering the uncoverable, exploring the unexplorable, explaining the unexplainable. Doing the undoable. All right, that's always been the American attitude towards not only itself and its institutions, but towards the rest of the world as well. But on gang stalking, the United States is remarkably quiet and timid to face this two-headed hydra called clandestine gang stalking. But that's okay. I mean, the void has been filled. All right, I'm not here to insult Congress. I'm not here to insult the American news media or its mass communications mechanism. I'm not here to insult the Departments of Defense and Justice. I'm not here to insult the American religious establishment. I'm not here to insult anyone. What I'm here to do is put together an exploratory and expository communicative medium from me to the world. Y'all remember that book that Joseph Stalin wrote? It's a compilation of Stalin's speeches and ideas. It's called Stalin Speaks to the World. Okay, his medium for speaking to the world is through the pages of various books and manifestos and documents, articles, narratives, and so forth. Well, Gangstalking in action is Emmanuel Isaiah Smith speaking to the world. This mechanism called clandestine gangstalking has permeated every crevice of the U.S. federal, state, and local functions, but it's also permeated the crevices of all of the federal, state, and local functions of various other countries throughout the world. America is not the only country that has gangstalking. Its influence is worldwide. I hate that. I hate that this germ, this political and sociological germ called clandestine gangstalking has spread throughout the world. That is something that I never wanted to see happen. I always pictured a world where countries were independent, allied, and committed to each other's success. That's the kind of world I see. Not a world where state-sanctioned mechanisms, particularly state-sanctioned national security mechanisms, lead to essentially U.S. citizens and whatever federal, state, or local governmental entities are directing them. Obviously, the national security and intelligence agencies. Okay, persons in this country and in others, I imagine, have essentially put together standing armies of persons that use a covert communication signal. Some of it is physical, some of it is verbal command, some of it's vehicular. Okay, some of it is purely electronic. Okay, the communication network is vast, but see, it's horrible. It's a horrible set of circumstances that so many persons have been consumed by these acts of political and sociological buffoonery. You must understand what gangstalking has done. It has divided the United States of America into two segments. And these two segments operate in spite of each other and not with each other. And these two segments have conflicting interests. Okay? For argument's sake, let's divide America into two segments right now. Segment A and Segment B. Segment A, these are persons who have been deemed for this reason or that by this federal auxiliary or that to be what you might refer to as the cream of the crop with respect to their ability or their capacity to contribute to the United States economy. Okay, whether or not you can contribute to society, that takes second place to whether or not you can contribute to the American economy. The American economy is considered the most important component of the United States holistic function. It starts with the economy. All things in this country start with the economy. All right? Everything starts with the economy. And if you can contribute to the American economy, you are going to be seen as above someone with respect to your importance to the country than someone who can only contribute to society with respect to their ability to conduct themselves in a way that is conducive to your life, liberty, and happiness, and the life, liberty, and happiness of your fellow man. If you can contribute to that atmosphere through your deeds mostly, then you can be seen as a person who is a contributing member of American society. But being able to contribute to the American economy puts you even above a person who can simply contribute to the sociological atmosphere of the United States. Now, you'll hear me say in many lectures that in my estimation, there are persons who are in targeted campaigns because they were determined, okay, by various federal, state, and local sources, particularly through the data entry mechanism, to be a person who is at some point in their life going to be subversive to society or disruptive to society or otherwise deleterious to society. And this program, this mechanism is a good way of keeping a lid on the damage that they can do. There's also a line of thinking that might suggest that persons who find themselves in targeted campaigns are persons that are, for the most part, people who draw lots of attention and people who are typically the center of attention for this reason or that. It's a way for various industries and various societal components and even various governmental components to control that person's trajectory through their life. And it's not difficult to see, it's not difficult to point out, it's not difficult to recognize when you're in the presence of a clandestine gang stalker. They like to be seen by their targets, they like to be observed by their targets, they like for their targets to know, yes, it's this person, that's the person that was signaled to you, that's the person that was called to observe you today. Wave, say hi, say hello, start a conversation, right? It's almost as if at some point the targeted person is being encouraged by their liaisons, by the undercover operatives, or by the gang stalkers themselves to accept it. Just accept it, because there's nothing you can do about it. And I would like to add as well that with respect to this matter being picked up on in some respects by various mass communication, mass journalistic, television and radio communicators, okay, et cetera, I have most definitely ascertained that there are certain auxiliaries, business and public, or rather we'll say private and public, various auxiliaries in both the private and public sector that are ready to have a conversation on gang stalking, but it's a dicey conversation, and no one wants to be wrong. Okay, and like I said at the beginning of this lecture, no one dove in head first. And the reason no one dove in head first is because we live in a nation that is, in my estimation, very is squishy. Okay, society in the United States is squishy. And what they'll say to you is, well, we have something to live for. We have jobs that we love. We have churches that we love. We have gods that we love. We have families that we love. We love so much, and we don't want to lose any of it, even a single second before we have to. So we're ultra safe. We're ultra careful. We're ultra this, that, and the third. We're careful. We're ultra careful because we don't want to lose what we love. So we're just very safe. We're very careful. Okay, we're carefully careful, and we're not able to make very quick decisions without knowing ahead of time what any of the consequences will be. And because you don't know what any of those consequences will be, we're not going to jump into this topic of clandestine gang stalking too quickly, because we don't want to be wrong. We want to be careful. We love our families. We love our churches. We love our schools and our communities. We love our country. We don't want to be wrong about this. Okay, here at the mass communications towers over here, over at this news station or that news station, or the news companies that rely on the fiber optics mechanism for cable and internet communication of their news stories, or this pastor over here on this pulpit, or that bishop over there on that pulpit, or these priests over here on this pulpit, or this college professor here, this high school teacher here. They just want to do the right thing. Okay, they don't want to talk about this too quickly. They don't want to be. They don't want to jump into a situation where they're saying the wrong thing, or they get something wrong, or they get something mixed up, or they just don't get the premise of the thing, or they just don't want to get their information from this source, or they just don't want to get this information from that source. They're looking out for themselves. They're looking out for for their families. They just want to do the right thing. They don't want to get too deep into it. They don't want to explore it too much, because there might be danger there. I mean, they call it gang stalking, they will say to themselves. We can't jump into this thing too quickly. It's called gang stalking. That sounds really dangerous. All right, this is what they're all saying to themselves, ladies and gentlemen. It just sounds dangerous. It sounds creepy. I don't want to expose myself or my family to anything that's called gang stalking. I'll wait for the news media and my pastor to tell me what it is. I just don't want to do the wrong thing. I don't want to put my family in harm's way. That's what they're saying to themselves, ladies and gentlemen. I just don't want to do the wrong thing. That's what they're saying to themselves, ladies and gentlemen. We can't investigate gang stalking just yet. We don't have the funding for it. We don't have the training for it. We don't have the personnel for it. All right, that's what your Departments of Defense and Justice will say. It's a big task. We just can't explain it right now. We just don't know what it is. So until we figure out what it is, we're going to tell you that guys like Emmanuel, Isaiah Smith, and anyone who comes forward about clandestine gang stalking is a nutcase. That's all we can do right now to cover up, not necessarily to cover up the truth. The truth could still get out there. We want to cover up our negligence. Okay, that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying in the U.S. federal establishment. We just want to do the right thing. All right, we got to take this thing a step at a time. Next thing you know, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have senators standing up in the actual halls of Congress. You're going to have senators standing up in the on the Senate floor. You're going to have senators standing up in various places, maybe in press conferences or private meetings or any kind of meeting. And they're gonna get up in front of the cameras and they're gonna say, you know what, this gangstalking thing, it could take years to really fully understand. It could take decades to fully understand this. So what we're gonna do is, we here at the Congress, we're gonna get together with all 50 governors of the union. We're gonna get together with all the mayors. We're going to get together with all the city council people and with all the federal, state, and local law enforcement, and we're going to put together a 110-year plan to get rid of gang stalking for once and for all. And we think that's about how much time it'll take us to get rid of gang stalking, because it's an embarrassing thing, and we want to kind of let some of the heat behind it fizzle off before we talk about it, because we don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want to be embarrassed in front of our allies. We don't want to be embarrassed in front of our enemies. That's what your federal establishment is saying right now, ladies and gentlemen. We don't want the embarrassment. We're going to put together a 115-year plan so that by the year 2140, there will be no gang stalking anywhere in the world, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, by the year 2140. We are going to have this country gang stalker free. All right, that's what they want, ladies and gentlemen. If they wanted a quick solution to this, if they wanted a decisive solution, if they wanted a victorious or triumphant solution to this program, they could have swept in and they could have knocked this thing out back in 2011. 2011 is when people started coming out in droves saying, hey, you know, what is this we're experiencing? What is this? What is this social engineering, surveillance, containment, signaling, and disruption program that I found myself in? People are not here to be played with by public or private enterprises. People's lives ain't video games for y'all to play. I know mine's not a video game. You know, you all, the gang stalking establishment, and that includes both public and private actors that tried to use my life as a video game, they lost. All right, I was the last boss in the video game, and they lost to me. And they're all out of quarters. So they can't put no more in the machine either. They got to take their raggedy butts home. All right, take your butts home to your wife and kids and tell them where you were today. All right, tell them what you did besides punching in, eating lunch, punching out, your time clock, and heading home. Tell your wife and kids where you were today. And be honest with them. Don't lie. Don't say I was at Home Depot getting some plywood for the kids' new jungle gym we're putting outside. Don't tell your wife and kids, hey, I'm going to Walmart because I'm going to go look at some of their hunting equipment. Don't tell your wife and kids, hey, I'm going to the shopping mall. Need to go buy some new golf clubs for the trail this week. Don't tell your wife and kids you're going out and getting supplies to winterize the family vehicle, because that's not what you're doing, man. You're lying to your wife and kids, and you're lying to the American people. I'm talking to all you dads and husbands out there that are out there doing gang stalking. You're making yourselves look like idiots. All right, you're making your families, your communities, your country, and your God look bad. All right? On one hand, you like to tell people we're the pillars of society. We're the ones that hold society together. Hardworking family men that occupy their time wisely and pay taxes. Well, you're saying you're the pillars of society, then why are you lying to your wife and kids? And why are you lying to the American people about the nature of what you're doing when you're out? How can you be a pillar of society when your own wife and kids don't know where you're at when you leave? You're out doing your gang-stalking stuff. You're out signaling. You're out pestering people. You're out giving them receiving signals from other people. Some of which are the kinds of people you never take home to your wife and kids to even meet them. The kind of people where if they were to show up on your front porch for trick or treat, you'd slam the door in their face. The kinds of people who, if they knocked on your door and asked you for anything, it could be a cup of sugar, you'd slam the door right in their face. But these are the kinds of people that you're signaling when you go out. And these are the kinds of people that are signaling you when you go out. People that you know to receive signals from, but people that you'd never invite over to your home. Okay, that's what you're doing with your spare time. All right, stop lying to your wife and kids about where you're at. All right, that is a horrible set of circumstances. You're going to take that plunge to become betrothed to a woman till death do you part. That's what the priest, minister, pastor, or evangelist says when they are marrying the two of you on the altar. Okay, you've taken a step to do this forever. Now go out into the world and be productive citizens. And then when the guy gets home, he immediately starts lying to his wife. And then when they start having offspring, now he's lying to his wife and his kids about where he is and where he's going. He's out doing stalking. I got videos of some of you all doing this. Some of these guys are taking their families out on gang stalking expeditions, ladies and gentlemen. Their family thinks it's a nice family outing at the mall, but all the while the dad's taking them where he knows he needs to go, because there's a number of persons that have asked him to join in on a bit of community harassment, and he didn't want to miss out on the action. So rather than leave his kids and his wife at home, as he so often does, now he brings them to the mall with him. All right? Now, these are not hypothetical scenarios, ladies and gentlemen. These are things that I have observed. I have observed these things in depth over the past 10 years. Okay, my significant other Lori and I, we have to see this stuff daily. And it's just a bunch of pestering nonsense. And I would like to let you know something too, ladies and gentlemen, before we get into the main talking point of this lecture. Ultimately, what gang stalking spells out is the capacity for governments and entire populations of people to become a laughingstock. And that's exactly what's going to happen too, because when you calculate the various movements, verbal commands, various physical gestures, physical cues, and so forth that the typical gang stalker uses, it's simplistic, it's hostile, and it's buffoonish. And when you combine these three traits together, it makes for a comedic atmosphere almost, with persons essentially just signaling each other to commit acts of buffoonery, acts of idiocy, or acts of thuggery. And persons will just dive right in. I mean, if the federal establishment dove in head first into this topic, as quickly as the gang stalkers themselves are diving into the activity, this program could have been solved 10 years ago. I wouldn't have had to build my websites about gang stalking. I probably would have never found out about it myself. But the reason I found out about it was because it was happening to and around me so often that I just eventually had to do some research. And I found what I needed. And keep something in mind too, ladies and gentlemen, that this country is ready for a conversation on gang stalking. That's obvious. It's inching closer and closer to a national conversation on it. All right, they want to make this conversation as they're going to try to make the conversation as disarming as possible. They don't want people to get scared. That's going to be their first. That's going to be the federal establishment's first reaction, or their first strategic objective is don't get the people scared. All right, because to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, when you talk about the kinds of people that contribute to American society, that contribute to the American economy, just very folksy, well-educated Americana types. Okay, these are the kinds of persons that get into political matters more often than not, in greater numbers than persons in lower tax brackets. So typically when you look at political action or political activity or political objectives, it's done with the kinds of persons in mind that can afford to contribute to the American economy. Not only with taxes, but with consumerism. These are the types of people that politicians' stump speeches and so forth are generally aimed at. And when you talk about the trajectory of political objectives, particularly over the past 10 years, you're talking about essentially what the middle classes, upper middle classes, and wealthy are, the problems that they are encountering, or the challenges that they encounter. And that's just simply the way it is pretty much in any country in the world. I mean, the ones that are able to contribute to the economy, to society, etc., with their tax dollars, with their labor, with their knowledge, with their enterprising abilities, with their energy. Okay, these are the kinds of people that the news media considers when they put out various news stories and so forth on things like gang stalking. I mean, don't scare the people will be the first objective. The next objective would be let's sort of edit down gang stalking to the core accusation as to what it is. Then they'll start looking at the people that bring these matters to the public eye. All right, then they'll start looking at the various constitutional ramifications and the other legal ramifications. And essentially that'll be it. I mean, that's the long and short of it. And that's how the American news media will talk about this at first, if it decides to. All right, now if the news media, if the federal establishment, if Congress, if this radio station or that radio station or this media company or that media company or this religious organization or that religious organization or this political matter or that political matter or this political action committee or that political action committee. You know, if they're waiting on people to crawl up to them and ask them to do something about gang stalking, that's not going to happen. I think that the power structure in this country is interested in who it is that targeted individuals are going to. Who do you see is behind this? Who do you think can fix this program, right? So with me personally, my chosen method of communication is the internet, and the World Wide Web, social media, etc. That's my preferred method of communication about clandestine gang stalking. But I have written letters to the FBI about it. I've written letters to the CIA about it. All right, I've written letters to the Department of Justice about it. Particularly over the past 8 years, I've written letters to various governmental auxiliaries about this program. All right. The only one to write me back was the FBI. But the reason they wrote me back is because I sent them a letter in the form of a FOIA request on clandestine gang stalking, and they basically wrote me a letter back acknowledging that the FOIA request was about gang stalking, but also stating in the letter that they didn't have any records pursuant to my request. So they didn't have anything to say particularly about the matter, and I've received no correspondence back about gang stalking from any other governmental auxiliary, including the Department of Homeland Security. So either the United States societal, or rather the socio-political establishment of the United States, is going to catch on to this quickly, or it's not going to catch on to it quickly. It's going to it's going to handle it however it wants to handle it, and it might not handle it at all. That's something we have to worry about. That's something we have to learn about as well. If there's only 10,000 or 100,000 or maybe 250,000 targeted persons in the country, even if there's only 1 million, for some Americans, that's not a big enough number to jump in on this thing with. You know, some persons are of the mindset, well, if it doesn't affect me, or if it doesn't affect my tax bracket, or if it doesn't affect my church, or if it doesn't affect my neighborhood, or if it doesn't affect my kids or my wife or my mama or grandmama or whoever, then I'm not going to worry about this. I'm just going to let our federal establishment handle it as they see fit. But to the persons that are actually experiencing gang stalking, it's like, you know what, the federal establishment can't handle this quick enough. All right, and persons like myself who experience this garbage every day, all right, and the useful idiots y'all keep sending, okay, signaling these idiots to me. Some of them are with their wife and kids, just looking to start crap. I mean, homicidal police officers, you name it. All right, I'm very close to naming names with respect to these police officers, particularly one that I filed an internal affairs complaint with. I'm just going to sidestep for a second. I filed an internal affairs complaint against an officer recently of the Miami-Dade Police Department. I'm going to go ahead and say his name, Officer Jay Hunt. All right, he's this real muscle-bound, he's a real big, tall, muscle-bound black police officer, right? All right, so I don't know who he's been talking to, around Kendall or in the Miami-Dade Public Library system or whoever it is he gets his information from. Probably Miami-Dade Public Library system. I've done videos about in the past. I've mentioned them in various lectures of mine with respect to their contribution to my gang stalking campaign. And not only that, but slander and libel that they've used against my person and my significant other's person by the staff at that library system. They went and got a hold of Officer Hunt and started pumping all this stuff into his head about my character. And apparently the employees of this Kendall Lakes branch are so terrified of me, and they're feeding them all this information about me and saying that I take pleasure in terrifying the staff there, which I haven't seen any of them in about 8 months, but okay. And apparently this big muscle-bound police officer, who probably runs around with a state-issued pistol and probably a private one that he uses. Yeah, he strikes me as one of those that will use a private issue to kill somebody. And essentially plant the gun on that person. All right, that type of stuff to hide evidence. Okay, use a private pistol to kill somebody and then put it in their hand when they die. All right, get their fingerprints on it. Then you can make it look like you scuffled with them or shuffled with them or tackled them and took a pistol that they had and killed them with their own pistol. Right? One of those type of cops. And I hate to say that because I don't think that most police officers think like that, but there are a number of those out there. This guy's one of them. I have an IA complaint out against him for unprofessional conduct with me during a traffic stop. This traffic stop occurred on November 11th. And this officer is obviously in the pockets of either persons friendly to Miami-Dade Public Library system or some other auxiliary that deals with the commissioning of thuggish police officers to try and do harm to sovereign U.S. citizens. So I'm going to leave that there. I invoke my First Amendment right under the U.S. Constitution to say everything that I'm saying right now. And to all my stalkers, I'm not your friend. I'm not your buddy. I'm not your ally. Same thing to the undercover operatives. Same thing to the liaisons. You're not looking at, you're not watching, you're not surveilling somebody that's fond of you. All right, I think you're a bunch of buffoonish, murdering, psychopathic sociopaths. And I think you're homicidal. I think what you participate in is for all intents and purposes domestic terrorism. I think that you all are a boon to civilization. You're a boon to society. The state-sanctioned thuggery you participate in is unconstitutional. You're a bunch of disgusting, rotten, germ-spreading buffoons. And you are biohazardous, thuggish, and certainly nincompoopish and silly in your operation. And I am going to continue doing these videos until the United States' federal establishment and its corporate establishment is ready to have a conversation on clandestine gang stalking. One that's going to lead to its quick abolition. I'm tired of these big, aloof, silly, stupid, degenerate, deleterious, useful idiot types coming around me, not because they want to be around me or it's because they just happen to be passing me by, but because some jerk threw them a signal or gave them some other communication just to go near me for whatever reason. Again, it's social engineering, it's human behavior modification, it's human behavior experimentation. It's state-sanctioned murder, state-sanctioned disease spreading, state-sanctioned vehicular accidents, state-sanctioned robbery, state-sanctioned assault, state-sanctioned rape, state-sanctioned burglaries, state-sanctioned food contamination, state-sanctioned biohazardous conditions, contamination, state-sanctioned election rigging, state-sanctioned jury rigging, state-sanctioned murder, state-sanctioned attempted murder, state-sanctioned cataclysms in people's lives, state-sanctioned catastrophes in people's lives. I mean, it's all state-sanctioned. The Department of Defense is the Department of Defense. It's the Department of Defense's military-industrial complex. All right, where it gets all of its equipment and training, is the beneficiary of clandestine gang stalking, and the Congress may or may not have authorized this program post 9/11, particularly in the 2003 range, on the coattails of national security bills. And quite frankly, when you talk about the conversation that's to be had on clandestine gang stalking, that the United States may or may not be ready to have, ultimately it's going to result in concessions that being made. There's going to be some denials by the U.S. federal government. There's going to be some truths told, and there are going to be some lies told. All right, because keep in mind, the U.S. federal establishment is allowed to lie to the American people in times of national security crisis or national security stress. The federal establishment is allowed to lie to the American people in these times. So I'm just going to continue doing my videos. You know, you try being nice, okay, to swine. All right, and I'm using swine in the capacity of a person that I consider to be a useful idiot. I'm not talking about law enforcers, and I'm not talking about law enforcers in general. Okay, when I say swine, I'm talking useful idiots. I don't care what your job is. Okay? This is not me calling police officers pigs. This is me saying I'm not going to entertain swine any further. All right? Now, if you'll see over the past 10 days, I've done my part in attempting to be diplomatic to liaisons, stalkers, and undercovers. I've attempted to be diplomatic to you. Now I'm not going to do that no more. Okay? I'm gonna go back to treating y'all like garbage. Okay? I tried being nice to you on social media. I've tried being nice to you on these recordings. I'm not gonna do that no more. I'm gonna go back to treating y'all like garbage. As a matter of fact, and a lot of you, that's where you come from. You come from a situation where your undercover operative training was garbage. So that's why when you go undercover out into the world as operatives, the work you do, the function, okay, the way you do it, your objectives, your ability to accomplish those objectives, your ability to do whatever it is that's required of you as undercover operatives or as law enforcement is garbage. All right, South Miami undercover operatives, what you do, the way you conduct yourself like a bunch of animals. You're a bunch of disease-spreading, hostile, violent, homicidal, lunatic undercover operatives. And I don't know what it is you are observing. Are you just observing people? Maybe you're just observing people. You're just observing people. Maybe you're not investigating criminal activity. Maybe you're an undercover operative that's just sent to observe people. They have those in this country. Undercover operatives that just observe people and report their observations back to a third party. All right? If you're an undercover operative and your job is to go out into the world and just observe people on behalf of a company or government, do your job with distinction. Do your job with care and do your job with professionalism. All right? If you're a law enforcer or some other military person, or you are in league with the U.S. federal government and you are an undercover operative that works in either a semi-law enforcement or law enforcement capacity, or perhaps a military capacity. Maybe you're observing people, maybe you're observing scenarios, maybe you're observing outcomes of scenarios, maybe you're observing court cases or something to that effect, or maybe you're observing criminal behavior. I'm not sure, but whatever it is you're observing, do it with professionalism, okay? Because you know what? I'm done trying to be diplomatic to you all, especially the undercovers and liaisons and the stalkers. All right, I've been trying to be diplomatic over the past 2 weeks, not only to you all in the streets or in the store or in this establishment or that establishment. I've been trying to be diplomatic to you on these recordings, and I'm just letting you know again, so that there's no confusion going forward. Liaisons, undercover operatives, and stalkers, you don't have a damn friend in me. Okay? I was trying to be diplomatic. I was not looking to shake your hands. I don't want you as friends. I could never see myself being a friend to a person who stages cataclysms and catastrophes in other people's lives using covert communications mechanisms. Okay? Where you belong is in a weasel farm, so you can be with your like-minded kin there. Okay? That's what I think of you. That's what I think of you stalkers. That's what I think of you liaisons. That's what I think of you undercover operatives. Okay? I do think you're swine. I do think you're pigs. And I think that you're weasels. All right? And I'm calling you that from a personal perspective, not an occupational one. All right? I couldn't care less if you're a police officer or if you're not a police officer. If you participate in gang stalking, to me, you are a pig. And that's the manner of creature you are. Okay? And quite frankly, I've never been your friend. And quite frankly, you need to start taking these banana-headed bozos that you all keep sending to me and get lost with them. You and all your stalkers can just flee, because I don't have any need for you. I don't want you around me. I prefer that you not be around me. I don't want you coming near me. I would rather you just disappear and take all your stalkers with you. Okay, that's all of you. Okay, I'm not your friend. Okay, and I'm going to go back to ignoring you, and I'm going to go back to talking to you like you're pieces of garbage, because that's what I think you are, and you're disease spreaders as well. Okay, just because you operate on the power and authority of the state, whether it's the Department of Defense or the Department of Justice, is of no relevance to me. When you come around me, operatives, liaisons, stalkers, you conduct yourself like zoo animals. And quite frankly, I could take any monkey out of a monkey cage and throw you in at any zoo anywhere in the country. And I could put a pair of sunglasses, a baseball cap, a t-shirt, some khaki shorts, and some tennis shoes on that monkey and set him out into the workplace, or set him out into the world, and I can promise you that that monkey will become a better liaison, undercover operative, or stalker than any of you that are around me. All right, that's what I think of you all. I don't care how often I see you. I don't care how often you come around me. I consider you to be about of as equal worth to society as a monkey just having been freshly released from the gorilla cages at your local zoo. Okay, that goes for you undercover operatives, you stalkers, and you liaisons. I'm going to say it again. You to me, in my estimation, have about as much worth to human progression as an ape, a baboon, or a chimpanzee, having been snatched out of the gorilla cage at the local zoo and set out into the world. Okay, you have less worth to human progression than those primates. Okay? Undercover operatives, liaisons, and stalkers. You have less worth to society than a family of baboons that were set loose from the gorilla cages at the local zoo. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to get into the talking point of the lecture. And mind you, ladies and gentlemen, this lecture will run over the 1 hour mark. I typically like to let my audience know if the lectures are going to run over the 1 hour mark. This will be one such lecture. I like to let you know at some point during the lecture that is going to happen. We're going to look at Gangstalking as a game show, ladies and gentlemen. As I said previously, people are about to begin asking questions about this. They're going to start doing it slyly. They don't want to feel like they've been taken advantage of or that they had one put over on them by the public and private sectors of this country. So people are going to be a little shy at first, asking about gang stalking and its auspices, etc. And in order to sort of put sort of a face on the matter, what we're going to do is we're going to look at gang stalking as a game show. So it would be like, for example, the game show The Price is Right, okay? Or Wheel of Fortune, or any game show that requires the pull of a wheel to determine how much a person's going to win or what a person must do to advance to the next level in the game show. Ultimately, gang stalking has this capacity to put targeted persons in and we'll call them volatile or unstable situations to see how the randomness of the matter gets to the target, or how it changes the mood of the interaction between the target or the stalkers. For example, there was a movie that starred Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was, if I'm not mistaken, the 50th governor of California back in 2003. And Schwarzenegger was in this movie called Running Man. And it was apparently a futuristic game show where every contestant was put on stage and put in a series of games and contests for their very life in front of a live studio audience who found the program to be very amusing and entertaining. And it would be something like, so they'd take a contestant, get some information of them, introduce the contestant to the audience, and then lead the contestant out of the studio into a televised area where they got into a flamethrower battle with somebody. And if the contestant won that flamethrower battle, then they'd move on to the next stage, and they would have to fight against somebody on a bridge that was 1,000 feet up, right? Or then if the contestant won, then they'd move on to the next level.
Video by Emmanuel,
where they would have
Isaiah
to
Smith.
fight somebody in a shark tank, and there's a live shark in the tank with them, right? So there are a lot of levels and stages to this game, and they're all dangerous, and the contestant can lose their life in any stage of the game. And if the contestant makes it all the way through, apparently they win their freedom. All right, now it was about 30 years since I've seen this movie, but that's the general plot summary of it. You know, it's kind of like how Gangstalking is set up. It's set up in almost an exhibition or a spectacle. You see, yeah, there are going to be a bunch of useful idiots that get up and mob you when they see you because they've been signaled to you to do that. And when they get up close to you, they do a whole lot of annoying stuff, disruptive stuff, biohazardous stuff, violent stuff, annoying stuff. That's what gang stalkers do. Okay, it's a part of this blank check of broad powers that the Congress of the United States has given to the national security apparatus and the intelligence apparatus of this country to run programs like gang stalking. Okay, and notice how they don't get everybody involved. Okay, the national security and intelligence apparatus have selected a very particular or precise piece of the American populace for this. Okay, they have chosen by hand who the principal stalkers are going to be, who the liaisons are going to be, and who the undercover operatives are going to be. And then the stalkers themselves, they're a little more loosely affiliated with the orchestrators, etc., and what you might call the power players in clandestine gang stalking. But ultimately, these stalkers are the ones on the ground level. Those are the foot soldiers. Okay? But I consider them to be equally as animalistic as undercover operatives and the liaisons that get the action started in clandestine gang stalking. Imagine gang stalking as a game show where the contestant is the targeted individual. And in front of a live studio audience of real people that are just maneuvering about on a daily basis, this targeted person is made a spectacle of in front of these people. And he's made a spectacle of in front of lots of people. And the spectacle is, watch how easy it is to frustrate or annoy or attack or get the better of this unsuspecting person here, this sheep that us wolves have decided to degrade and deject, vex and perplex, harm, pester, annoy, kill for your viewing pleasure. Anybody who knew this target in the past throughout their life can tune in to the festivities. We can plug you into his gang stalking campaign. We can use street theater to show you in your state what he's up to in his state. We can, in various instances, if you want to see him in person, you as his stalker can plug right into this campaign. And we can set up a day and time for us to show you this guy in person so you can see what he's like in person. After all these years, your old enemy, you want to get back at him? You want to take some revenge? Well, maybe 20 to 25 years from now, we can plug you in this gang stalking campaign. You can see what he's up to. We'll show you him live and in person. And if you want to use disruption against him, you want to see him made uncomfortable, you want to see him attacked, we can set that up too. And you can watch. You can be in the audience. You want to see this targeted person get angry? You want to see him get upset? You want to see him get hurt? You want to see him embarrassed? Do you want to see him attacked? Do you want to see worse? Well, we can arrange that. And we can arrange for you to see it live. You might have to wear a disguise. Stalker A will tell Stalker B. But we can show you him. We know exactly his routine. We can put you in a situation where you come face to face with him and he'll never know it's you. And if you want to use one of our patented or state-of-the-art pestering tactics on him, you let us know and we'll set you up on how to do it. Right? That's the allure of gang stalking. Gang stalking allows that. Gang stalking allows for stuff like that. You can't divorce gang stalking from its governmental roots. Okay, gang stalking is governmental and it's federal. That's why there's no jurisdiction in gang stalking. Okay, it's federal. It chases you throughout you can chase you into any state and into any county in any state. It's perpetual and it's federal. And there's no way of anyone ever divorcing gang stalking from its governmental roots. Okay, if it was a national security platform gone wrong, or if it was some community-oriented policing thing gone wrong, or if it was a fusion center experiment gone wrong, or if it was a Department of Defense experiment gone wrong, a Department of Justice experiment gone wrong, maybe a social engineering product gone wrong, maybe a sociological product gone wrong, that's fine. Just say that. Don't hide it. Don't lie about it. Don't call persons that come forward about it insane or psychotic or schizophrenic or crazy. That's going to make you look like a total weasel when all is said and done. It's going to make you look like a weasel that tried to cover up the truth. So it's time to come forward about this because, quite frankly, it's not must-see TV. I mean, it's got game show elements, but it's not must-see TV. It's a political problem. It's a societal matter. It's something that needs to be handled congressionally, if it's to be handled at all. And the world is watching and future generations are watching, and you must do this correctly, America. You must do this correctly. You must handle this correctly. Because if you don't handle it correctly, future generations and future governmental establishments will look back on this one. Okay, future generations and future governmental establishments across the world will look back on this one and say, wow, how did America ever screw up so bad so as to mobilize nearly its entire population as a standing army against other parts of the population? What kind of a political strategy is that for the country? What kind of a sociological strategy is that for the country? You created two Americas, and you've given one America a covert communication mechanism and attack mechanism that it can use to legitimately harm people from the other segment of society who are not plugged into this state-sanctioned thuggery mechanism. All right, gang stalking is a game show, and the contestant, which is the targeted individual, is constantly playing for his safety. And game after game, win after win, they put you in another game, then another game, then another game, then another game. There's people coming around from all four corners of the county to watch you. To watch you encounter your stalkers. How do you handle your stalkers? How does she handle her stalkers? There are gang stalkers out there that want to be signaled to a targeted individual, so they can see how they handle themselves around them and other stalkers. Because stalkers move in groups, gang stalkers move in units. They move in units. All right, because they're all about being safe. They all want to go home to their families at night. They just don't want any trouble. Not for them anyway. They'd like trouble for you as the target, but not as them as the stalker. They just want to go home. That's all they want, ladies and gentlemen. These gang stalkers, these liaisons, these undercover operatives, they just want to go home. That's all they want, ladies and gentlemen. They don't want no trouble. They don't want nothing bad to happen. They don't want nothing wrong to happen. They just want to go home. Okay, gang stalkers, liaisons, undercover operatives, the ones that wake up every morning and go out into the world, conduct themselves like zoo animals, pester as many people as possible. Maybe they attacked a number of persons. Maybe they shot at people that day. Okay, maybe they've ganged up on some girl that they met somewhere. They don't want any problems. Okay, they just want to go home. They just want to go out into the world, do their stalking assignments, and just go home. Okay, that's all these stalkers want, ladies and gentlemen. They don't want to get into the root of this. A lot of stalkers don't even want to know how gang stalking originated. They just want to go home. Okay, they just want to go out, do their dirt, do their thuggery, do their pestering acts, do their annoyances, and then they don't want to be away from their family. They don't want to be away from their dog Scruffy. They just want to go home. Okay, they just want to cozy up by a nice roaring fire in their favorite sweater. Maybe they're drinking hot chocolate with whipped cream and marshmallows in it. Maybe they're sitting in front of the Christmas tree. I don't know. Maybe they're baking gingerbread cookies. Maybe they're watching their favorite episode of Three's a Crowd at home. Who knows what they do, these stalkers, when they go home? Who knows what they do? Do they feed their goldfish? Do they feed their dog? Do they feed their family at night? Do they cuddle up with their family and kids? Do they read their kids bedtime stories? Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. I don't want to know what a stalker does after they go home at night. I don't care. But one thing I do know is that stalkers have a lot to lose. And they want to be safe, and they just want to go home at night. That's all they want. That's all they want. That's all these stalkers want, ladies and gentlemen. They want to piss off as many people as possible. Perhaps harm a few people. Maybe sabotage a few people using this sabotage network. Maybe they can use one of their hostile thugs to go bother somebody physically. Maybe they can attack somebody. They just want to go home afterwards. That's all these stalkers want. They just want to go home. They don't want any retaliation. They just want to go home. They just want to go home. And ladies and gentlemen, when you talk about gang stalking as a game show, you talk about it as a it's more than a communications network, okay? It's more than entertainment. It's more than amusement. It's people playing God. All right, if you could take a person and put them out into their natural habitat, which is Earth, and say, all right, see you later. Go ahead, live a good life. We'll tell you what you need to do to achieve that. Here's a geometry textbook. Here's a Bible. Here's an English book. Here's a history book. Let's see. You got two parents. You got siblings. You got grandparents. Roof over your head. They're working. All right, go out into the world. Make your way. You got all you need. And then while you're trying to put, as a young person, all this stuff together and make it into something productive, you get thrown in a gang stalking campaign at the behest of other people. It's like, how do I run this marathon called life if I got useful idiots shooting BB guns at me from the sidelines? How could I possibly succeed? And that's the point. Part of clandestine gang stalking is regulating who gets to succeed and who doesn't. If you put somebody in a gang stalking campaign and tell them, all right, see ya, go to work, or see ya, go to school, perform, or see ya, play this sport, go ahead, be an all-star, or see ya, go ahead, start this business, do well. Okay, that's like giving somebody a pair of tennis shoes with glass at the bottom of it and telling them, all right, go ahead, run this marathon, win first place. And when you go to running, it's like, wait a minute, there's glass essentially destroying the bottom of my feet as I run in these shoes. How am I supposed to excel? It's the same concept. You put somebody in a gang stalking campaign and tell them, all right, go out, be a success. It's damn near impossible. You're being attacked by in various odd angles and in asymmetrical ways. All right. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, I think it would behoove me and you to talk a little bit more about this game show aspect of gangstalking. All right, because a target is used as somebody's amusement as well. You see, you're being used for amusement. Okay, a lot of it is one of these where a person you may have known from years back or something to that effect. And mind you, there are 1,001 ways you could get thrown in a gang stalking campaign, but here's one of them. So revenge, right? People getting together and talking to the right people and saying, you know what, we want to get back at this guy for what he did to us all these years ago in high school or college or whenever. And we want to put together a revenge campaign against him. All right, and we're going to stay on this thing forever. We want to see the results of our revenge against this guy. All right, getting back at people is a quick, easy way of getting somebody put in a gang stalking campaign. If you can convince the right people that one person has offended enough people, that the offending party can be thrown in a gang stalking campaign. They'll just find a scapegoat or some reason. They'll say, well, we don't feel safe around them or something like that. Or we fear for our lives or our children's safety or something like that. All right. Ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, the deflection of blame is an industry. The deflection of blame is a central component of what's going to happen when the American establishment is ready to have a conversation on clandestine gang stalking. You're going to see a deflection of blame. No one's going to take the blame for it. And ultimately, it's okay. You don't have to take the blame for it. I mean, the truth has an interesting way of coming out. And even if everyone that participates in clandestine gang stalking is as tight-lipped as ever and does not want to budge as to the seriousness and the historical nature of this conversation, actually, and that's okay. That's okay. Keep playing your game. I'm going to keep making videos whether or not gang stalking exists, because I want people who want to know about this relic, okay, this socio-political disease called clandestine gang stalking. I want people to understand it, and I want people to understand it fully and thoroughly. And even if this program is repealed, I'm going to continue making videos so that people can see the relic that used to be called gang stalking defeated. And I'm sure that as I find other hobbies to take on, that the nature of my videos would become a little more politically based or news based or current events based. And that's provided that this program is completely repealed and rescinded in the name of the U.S. Constitution. We don't have time to be wasting on stuff like this. I mean, what did they think that persons like myself were just going to allow this thing to consume you, body and soul? I mean, come on, really? I mean, you guys are making me laugh at this point. I've already called out what you do and put every bit of it on social media for the whole world to see, and you guys are still doing it. You apish, stooge-like liaisons, undercover operatives, and stalkers. Okay? You're still doing it, even though I've called you out on it. That means that you're violent in what you're doing. And you don't care the physiological stressors that this has on a person. You don't care. You're just looking for destruction. That's all you're looking for. Okay, and I guess as the contestant in this game show called Gangstalking, and the live studio audience being surrounding bystanders who have been signaled or called to the occasion, if you want to see a T.I. and a gang stalker go at it, here's your chance. Right? It's an amusement park, okay? It's a television show, it's a movie, it's a Broadway play, it's a live feature starring a targeted individual and his stalkers. And you can check in on the target apparently ever so often, using street theater to see what he or she is up to. Then you can go away for a few weeks, months, or years and check back on them again. Also, there's the lights, camera, action element of clandestine gang stalking as well. And beside all the street actors and the street theater and the people that you really just wish they'd go the hell away, because you're not soliciting their presence. They just keep popping up. Some of them like to get real close to you and try to spread germs to you that way through airborne bacteria. And some just get in your way. Okay, they don't all try to manipulate or sabotage what you, the target, are doing. Sometimes it's good enough for them to just get in your way and maintain a sense of control over your trajectory. And mind you, it's set up in a hierarchical fashion. So for example, if you were to look at a television company, at the top you have the CEO, but you also have the board of directors. You have various regional corporate officers. You have executive producers. You have regular producers. Then you have the director. You have the stagehand. And then you have the actors and actresses. And with respect to the clandestine gang stalking mechanism, so you do have your actors and actresses. You have your targeted individuals, right? Those are your actors and actresses. Now, they are not acting or participating in anything, but they are your actors and actresses in the sense that they're the star of the production. Okay? So you have the TIs there that are the stars of the production, and then they don't really have co-stars. I mean, from there, it's just essentially the gang stalkers or the undercover operatives or the liaisons as the co-star, just about. I mean, that's about as much of a comparison to a co-star as I can sort of, I guess, examine with respect to how gang stalking is similar to a Hollywood feature. So you have your co-stars, but your enemies. You're not co-stars in the sense that you're working together to try and make this an amazing movie. You as the target have these co-stars that are stalkers, liaisons, and undercovers, and they are your enemy. Not only in the movie, but in life. And they are looking to steal the stage from you. Okay, that's kind of how actors and actresses battle it out on screen. Who dominates the scene, right? In some movies, those scenes are dominated mostly by males. In other movies, those scenes are dominated by females. It depends on the synopsis and the plot and the target audience and the marketability of the feature and so forth. That's how you determine those things. But in a gang stalking campaign, this is not a movie that's being sold. Okay, the targeted person's life is not being videotaped and sold to people. It's possible that something like that could manifest at some point. where the targeted person's life is being videotaped, and then those recordings are sold to a third party for entertainment purposes. Hey, you want to see a targeted individual get harassed? I can set it up to where I can set up some good harassment, film it, and send it to you. This is that guy that you had problems with from way back, the one that you were not really able to really settle the old score with. If you want, I can set it up to where that guy gets harassed. I can use street theater and gang stalking to get that guy harassed, your old enemy. And I could videotape the harassment and send the videotape of the harassment to you. So you can always cherish that memorable event of your old enemy being harassed by gang stalkers. We can do that for you. You see? There is a staged production element to gang stalking, but the targeted persons are essentially what you might refer to as unwitting participants in this staged production. And yes, this is a production. Yeah, it's a live production. Yeah, you get to see the activity live. You get to see the obstruction, the disruption. You get to see all that live. And just like a stage production has executive producers, regular producers, directors, stagehands, actors, and actresses, the same is true in gang stalking. There's a cinematic element to clandestine gang stalking. It's made to be entertaining to some people, with the targets being used as the live entertainment. You see? So it's very much like a game show in that capacity, and gang stalking has a hierarchy, just like any media or production company. All right, the CEOs of gang stalking are probably in the Departments of Defense and Departments of Justice. There's probably a few acting CEOs in various fusion centers. Okay, the chairman of the boards is probably basically committees of principal stalkers that are plugged into various military and semi-military elements here in the United States. The executive producers are essentially the liaisons. The producers themselves are constantly in the mix, constantly signaling people, constantly getting them mobilized and moving and so forth. And then you have the undercover operatives, which are stagehands. They assist the liaisons. Okay, some of them work in a private capacity, some of them work in a public capacity. Some of them work in the armed forces. Some work in the Departments of Justice. Some work in for state or local law enforcement agencies, and they essentially make the stalker's job easier. They irritate, eavesdrop on, spy on, harass, approach, attack, confront, annoy, pester, and spread bacterial diseases through the air to targeted persons. And that makes the targeted person more able, or rather willing, or it makes them more timid with respect to the stalkers that they come in contact with. Because the gang stalkers, they know that they're backed. They know they're a part of a club. They know they're a part of a fraternity. They know that what they're doing has to have some state backing. So that's why when targeted persons encounter gang stalkers, they encounter people that are very confident in what they do. Okay, you don't meet a lot of timid gang stalkers. They're very confident in what they do. And the reason they're confident in what they do is because they know they're not alone. Okay, these stalkers know they have other stalkers and undercovers and liaisons and some law enforcers themselves and some military personnel that are all part of this cabal. Okay, this social engineering cabal. Okay, and they operate with quite a bit of impunity. And the reason they operate with impunity is because they have state resources at their disposal to separate themselves from other people, to separate themselves from the laws that other people have to follow, and to separate themselves from the various occupational challenges that other people have to face. You see, they're set aside, as they say. and they operate in a different world altogether and in a different type of community and society than anyone else has to live in or essentially become a part of in order to prosper, in order to maintain a standard of living. A targeted person's entire life, from the minute they get thrown into a gangstalking campaign onward, can be seen as essentially live television, live entertainment for some people. Some people get more of a kick out of the disruption element or the attack element or the subversion element, okay? And they want to know how a targeted person is doing in their occupational life or in their academic life or, okay, in any life that requires institutions or any deed that requires institutions, or any lifestyle or occupation or hobby that requires institutions. There are some people that are interested in that. They want to see what happens to a targeted person throughout their work career. Why? Because they know their targets and they want to be entertained by the various catastrophes that happen. Some people watch a person's personal life, and if you're a targeted individual, it's possible to have interpersonal relationships, but they're difficult. Because while being a target, you're subject to psychological and physiological stressors that make it difficult for you to be that kind, caring, gentle, loving, significant other that you want to be. The things that you encounter with stalkers on a daily basis can wear down on that capacity to be warm and caring and so forth. Some stalkers monitor a targeted person in their interpersonal lives. They want to see relationship after relationship explode and hit the rocks. Okay, it's entertainment to them. Okay, and once stalkers figure out where a target is, they can easily infiltrate that institution or organization. They can infiltrate your neighborhood. They can infiltrate your school, your college, your university. They can infiltrate your workplace. They can infiltrate your church. They can infiltrate anywhere that you go regularly to try and not only enjoy your life but prosper in it. Stalkers have that ability, and apparently they're trying to make it look as if the United States federal establishment has just thrown its arms up and said, okay, fine. There's a segment of the population that includes military personnel, intelligence personnel, national security and personnel, law enforcers, and a number of various intelligence and semi-intelligence components of this country, and they found a way to essentially manipulate society from a shadow government posture. Okay, fine, we'll let them just operate as a shadow government. Okay, really what it is a military it's a military takeover of the government is what it is. Okay, where we don't live in a constitutional democracy. We live in a military junta. Okay, that is what this country is at this point. Okay, every aspect of it, including its congressional workings, its legislative workings, its religious establishment, its media, its colleges, its universities, its middle and high schools, its entertainment industry, even its sports industry. Everything in this country is lock, stock, and barrel controlled directly or indirectly by the national security apparatus in this country and the intelligence apparatus in this country. Okay, we live in a national security state. We live in a national defense state, and apparently, as fodder for the people who participate in the clandestine gang stalking aspect of this national security state, apparently quite a few of them, as rewards for their hard work, they are fed targeted individuals, people that you can just walk up to and disrespect anyhow you want. And trust me, you'll get away with it because we've handpicked them for you. We've told you exactly how to pester or annoy them or attack them. And there'll be other stalkers around, some of which might be police officers. to monitor the situation and make sure that you get back safely to your home after you've committed this disgusting, purposeless act of human degeneracy against a targeted individual. We're going to help you do that safely and just help you get on back home. And that's how these these stalkers operate. Now, Target has two options: fight back or let it trample you. And that's part of what the game show element of Gangstalking is. It's like, well, we got our live audience. They're going to follow this guy around. We're going to monitor his life. We're going to see what are the triumphs, the ups and downs that happen. Even though the triumphs, ups and downs are all staged and derived, we're going to let you all watch it live. We're going to let you monitor this guy's life live. And every aspect of his life, we're going to let you monitor it live. And we're even orchestrate some catastrophes in his life so that his life is more amusing to you. You see, a lot of this is about amusement. A lot of it is about debauchery. And a lot of it is about persons who have essentially renounced any sense of common decency or goodness that they have. And I would like to say as well a word about Cuba. November of this year, Mike Waltz, the United States ambassador to the United Nations, gave a speech in which he said that the United States believed that Cuba is a state sponsor of terrorism. That plays into this. Because when stuff like that happens, stuff like that could be a demoralizing to gang stalkers, when stuff like that happens, the stalkers are usually their fears are assuaged and they're acquiesced. Okay, they don't want to make that a big time. They don't want to make that too big of a news story because they don't want to offend the Cuban population of South Florida, which is very federally protected and is very plugged into the gang stalking mechanism. All right, now I don't live in places like. I don't know what the most Mexican or Puerto Rican states in the United States are, the most Mexican or Puerto Rican cities are in the United States. But if I were living in any state in the Union that had mostly a Mexican or Puerto Rican populace, I'd be saying the same thing if I were experiencing the same thing. Okay, this is not about Cubans or Cubanos or the state of Cuba any more than this is about Mexicans or Mexicanos or Puerto Ricans or Puerto Rico. This is about clandestine gang stalking, okay? If I were living in a mostly white area or a mostly black area or a mostly Asian area, anywhere in the country and this were happening, I'd be doing the same thing, okay? And yes, I'm a political dissident. I don't think America is running to its full capacity. And because I'm in Miami-Dade County and that Miami-Dade County is only 90 miles away from Cuba, this is something that I need to mention and make mention of. And yes, there are terror cells here in the United States, here in this Miami-Dade County. Are these terror cells made up of Arab Muslims or Cubans? It's going to be mostly made up of Cubans that have sympathized with ISIS or Al-Qaeda and have decided to take on terroristic postures towards various persons, organizations, and institutions here in Miami-Dade County. Do I believe that there are actual ISIS militants here as well? Actual Al-Qaeda militants as well? Yes. Do I believe that all of the above are doing business with the Cuban government as a matter of procedure? Yes. And why are these militants and these terrorists here in Miami-Dade County? They're here in Miami-Dade County because the government of Cuba has allowed them to come to Miami-Dade County and is sheltering them here in Miami-Dade County as a favor to those militant and or terrorist groups. When you talk about a game show, ladies and gentlemen, you talk about prizes for winning. Gangstalking is not such a game show. This game show, it serves as entertainment in many respects for the live audience, and it serves as a source of R&R for certain people. I mean, there are people that are simply of the mindset, well, if I have to get up and go to work every day for 30 years of my life, then retire, then die, well, when I get the opportunity, when I get some money, when I get some status, when I get a family, etc., and I become a contributing member to society, I'm going to take my credibility as a sovereign U.S. citizen or as a member of society, and I'm going to take that credit, that social credit, and I'm going to use it to jump in clandestine gang-stalking campaigns and pester people to no end, harming some, offending others, whenever I want, wherever I want. All I got to do is wait for the signal, and I deserve that as a person that is a tax-paying and working citizen. Okay? You do have persons in this country that believe that way, that believe that because they work, because they have a job, because they earn tax credits, and because they pay taxes and so forth, in various enterprises. Perhaps they contribute to the housing market, they're homeowners and so forth. They contribute to the automotive sector, they're car owners and so forth. That because they're contributing members of society, that they have earned the right to act up. And that acting up comes in the way of clandestine gang stalking. All you have to do is wait on a signal that plugs you in to a scenario where a person is pointed out to you, and you are allowed to walk up to that person and use any number of disgusting, manipulative, or biohazardous attacks against that person. And you're able to do it with confidence. Why? Because a stalker and various stalkers, people that want you in their organization using these signals and so forth, they want to reward you for your time. So here's one we'll let you kick around real quick. Just wait on the signal. You see? And yeah, there's people that will get into that. Yeah, there's people that think that that's a dream job, right? You mean I get to piss off and pester and even attack people? Wherever, whenever? And I won't get in any trouble? All I got to do is wait on a signal. There are people that would jump into that quick. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you have had a wonderful day. That will conclude this lecture. Thank you for listening.